I see no problem with that. Do any of the rest of the board members see a problem with that?
No, I have no problem.
Jim, if you would you read that order, please?
Okay, Board of Directors, Colorado City Metro District. Dear Board of Directors and District Manager, I am writing to you to express what I believe is a major concern for the community, which is the fact that the original layout of the city was based on the intention to lay out and sell as many lots as possible, take the profit, and move back to California by the developers. As a result, we have vastly more lots than the water supply in the Greenhorn Valley will support. Many of those lots belong to the Metro District. You all seem to be very happy with selling the lots at a cost which is very cheap for the county, and having the ability to collect for yet another water tap, which I think you have to admit we do not have the water nor the treatment capacity to supply. Not what is going on in Pueblo West right now as a result of the very same problem. Let's take a breath and admit that exactly the same thing is going on here. I am asking that the board take the position that we have to apply the brakes to unlimited growth, even though the few dollars that you get up front on lots and tap sales seems nice. It is going to result in major problems down the road. In fact, we must agree that the most critical problems we have today is the water system, so let's not put more strain on it. My family has been in the Greenhorn Valley for over 75 years, and it has not resembled to where it has come from, and I truly do think the rampant growth has made the area a better place. Please consider the downside and what is best for Colorado City, and not make the check you get for selling another tap fee. I thank you for your serious considerations of this matter. Respectfully, Dave Alton.
Thank you, Jim. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
May I speak to the manager on a couple of issues on the lot?
Go ahead.
Jim, what is the size of each lot?
They're about 1.2 acres.
Each?
Yes,
So we're talking 2.5.
about 2.5
So,
acres.
And has anybody had any discussions with you on paying for the road?
Yes, they have.
Okay, so where we stand on the discussion of the road? Because if we put the road in, that would eat every bit of the cost,
Yes,
or the
yeah.
return, I should say.
The thing that I had is that she's looking at trying to build a house within the next year on it, if she bought it. We do not have water and sewer there, so it is not a, she knows that she'd have to apply for her cistern and a septic system for that. She said that most likely that she would put in the road, but she wouldn't say exactly that she
But
is.
at this point, we don't have any guarantees
No.
on who would pay for the road.
Yeah,
So
at
it
this
would be a
point,
break even if we've done this, in my opinion.
No.
What
Well-
do you think about this?
and the thing is anybody that has put anything like that, I've told them it's gonna take anywhere from a year to 18 months first to even get
Correct,
to that
we
road.
have that time limit.
Yeah, that it's something that has to go into a budget, and sometimes asking if we have our budget already set within for next year, there's no way that I can put it
If I-
into the budget.
If I'm not mistaken, that particular area is perkable. So there's a great possibility of septic there versus across the road where that land doesn't perk.
Okay.
Have you got any thoughts on that? Because, you know, if you can't put a septic in, then they're really in trouble. But on the other hand, I drove this area for 25 years, and I believe that area to be perkable. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that area. I've not dug in that area. You know, without it being having water and sewer there, I haven't had to fix any breaks or anything that we got into that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else?
I think if we did something with this,
Yeah.
I'd put a stipulation in there, they'd have to fund the road.
Yeah, there's no,
Did they completely fund the road?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at some others we've had, I don't know how long that is, how long is that road?
How long is that road?
Yeah,
It's about 500 foot.
well, we have some place we put in a road already, so we know what it costs to put in a road. So we could say, if we went with this proposal, we'd say, and you would put in your, we'd provide the equipment, but you'd put in the road.
Or
you'd pay for the cost to put it in.
Yeah, cost of putting the road.
If I may.
Go ahead.
So I believe what he's saying is possible, because I believe last time you were talking about, we can add it into the offer.
Yeah, we can do anything like that.
So we could add that into the offer, that they have to, pay for the cost of the installation of the road if we end up doing it.
If we end up approving their proposal.
Okay, let's, be careful now, we were speaking.
No, we're not doing anything.
Okay. What else? And Chris, did you have anything else to do?
Mr. Chairman?
Just one sec.
After ball,
One sec.
after ball.
All right, one sec. Terry, did you have your hand raised?
No, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Jim, is there a culvert needed there? Cause we run into this issue before.
yeah.
It cost us a lot more.
Oh, I'm not quite sure. Off the Greenhorn here, Greg, I know you'll know better than I do. Off the Greenhorn Road, there should probably be a culvert on that.
Wouldn't that be a part of putting in the road, the cost?
They have nothing anymore.
I know they're looking at buying these lots, but if they put in that road.
Jim, if you're looking at Greenhorn Road, I just heard you say that.
Yeah.
Greenhorn Road is a county road, and county will require, a culvert.
Culvert there, okay,
So that would also add to the cost.
okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, so I kinda wanna step back just for a second to address the concerns of that first letter that he read. I guess not really stepping back, it's still concerning the sale of property. And I understand that we all live in a community that we hate seeing, so, not all of us, but that a vast majority of us hate seeing so many people move in, and we're worried about losing our small community. However, to address the water concerns, we still have enough water to supply probably a few hundred more homes, correct?
Yeah.
And one of the problems that we've had, and we've had it since the beginning, is that we got too much infrastructure and not enough people paying on it. That is the single biggest it's economics 101 as far as I'm concerned. You know, Pueblo West doesn't have near the problem we got. Pueblo doesn't have near the problem we got, and it's because they have a lot more infrastructure. They have, I don't know.
Population density.
Yes, population density. There's a lot more houses on a mile of their water line paying water bills than there is the amount of houses on a mile of our water line. Okay, so if we continue, if we go down this obstructionist view, as far as I'm concerned, is what he's saying, where we tell people they can't build in Colorado City, we're kind of basically, that's not the way to fix this problem. The way to fix this problem is to pay for the infrastructure, and the way we pay for the infrastructure is to have people using off of it. So, anyway, I yield.
To your point there, I guess to your point on that, we have to get back to this specific lot sale issue. So
Yes, no,
let's get back to that.
and this lot sale is only gonna be using infrastructure as far as water from the tap, but they're still going to be paying into the infrastructure.
Well, not from the tap, they'll be using it probably from the sand.
Yeah, from the standpipe is what I mean. They'll be, which is paying into the infrastructure. We've got it set up to where they pay their fair share
At a higher rate.
at a higher rate, so they do pay their fair share.
Yeah.
One of the, Can I add something to that? One of the, people that I visited with today that came in, he said that even Pueblo West, their tap fees are going to 30,000. So, because of trying to slow growth. So, with that being said, I forecast you're gonna have a lot more builders instead of building there, they'll come here because of the tap. Too. So, you know, that's one of the things that you're gonna have to consider down the road here again.
Okay, back to this specific issue.
Mr. Chairman, on the specific issue there.
Specific issue?
Yes.
Okay.
This particular lots in our community are extra large. I don't think personally we should back off of our price. I actually think it was too cheap at the time. I think it is at this point, but that's my position. I yield.
Okay, anybody else?
This is Yvonne.
Go ahead, Lon.
I just wanna mention that on lot 690, our costs on the books, it's over 11,000 for that lot in our government fund.
11,000.
Is that in enterprise?
That's our call.
Is it in the enterprise?
No,
No, it's in the government.
All right,
government.
thank you. Anything else from you? Apparently not.
Okay, next item.
Go ahead.
Dump truck, Jake came in, last meeting and he said he would go up and look at it and evaluate it. You have the report there in front of you. He said the high end of the truck would be 58, the low end would be 58.3. He says there is some.
Hold on. You said 58 and then the low end 58.3?
No, I'm sorry, 28.3.
Thank you.
He believes that the fair market value on that truck was to be the 28.3, you know, because of the engine, the type of engine that it has. They've had problems with it in the past with ERG and stuff. He says that all of that has been changed. He did talk to the mechanic where I talked to the administrator from the municipality that had it, or the district that had it, and he was able to give more insight as to why they got it, and it's within there. It was 90% of the problem is when it sits and idles, it clogs up, and that's where it shuts down.
Clogs up that
That's-
DTF filter and shuts itself
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. So that was one of the things that brought out that in that truck.
Discussion.
The thing that I'd like to do is I've been going through, I've found a few trucks that they have a lot of miles on them or a lot of time on them. I would like to kind of pick I know we're gonna need a truck. That's one thing that after looking at the quotes that I've got from individual haulers and stuff, a lot of them want a retainer as to so much a month. I know we couldn't afford to keep them as a retainer. And that's one of the things that I look at is if I could have some kind of a vision from the board as to what we would be looking at as to what is the board, you know, is there a dollar amount, a year, make, model, maybe that might be able to find something in a realm of where we need to be. That's one of the areas that I'm trying to look for, is some guidance on it.
Jim, would you remind me what they were asking for this?
They were asking 35.5, I think it was.
Go ahead, Bob.
I don't have an opposition to us getting a truck. My opposition is whether or not you will use it instead of jobbing out or contracting out the job. That's my whole opposition. We need equipment. whether it be the road grader or a dump truck or a backhoe, we have to have our own equipment.
I agree with you.
Okay, good. You? Anybody else? Mary?
How many of these trucks do you look at have the stone bed on them?
Probably 1 out of 5 will have.
Have one? I'm sorry,
A
have
stone,
one?
a stone bed?
A rock bed.
A rock bed?
Since
Now-
we deal with a lot of rock.
You told me the truck, if we could get this truck for a certain price, you could retrofit the engine, change the engine to get rid of that problem?
I've seen some kits and stuff that guarantee to get it done. Usually that upgrade is like $1,500.
Okay.
Would that have to be done by International?
No, you do it, actually, it goes into the computer. You buy the chip and the company can do it internet-wise.
So,
The company that you buy
Yeah,
from?
that you buy the upgrade component for.
Does that make sense, Greg?
okay, yes, very capable of doing that. However, it's usually very illegal. Unless this is considered an off-road only vehicle. Is this considered an off-road only vehicle?
You're using county and state roads.
Okay, now everybody and their brother does it. Matter of fact, at one time, maybe even I did it. However, I said maybe at one time. But however, though, us being a metro and a government entity, I don't think we should be doing that. Because it is illegal.
I agree with you.
Unless it's used on the road. I mean, unless it's used off-road only. Your vehicle has to remain with the emissions that it came with to remain legal.
So, question to you then, is that, are you aware that if there is an alternative method that is
So, yes. So in order to remain legal, the emissions on the vehicle have to be the same as the year the motor was originally made. Okay, there are several companies out there that are retrofitting newer vehicles because they're such a piece of you-know-what with the older engines, and they can put the older emission systems on it. The older engines are completely redone. They're like a brand new motor, but the block, which is the heart of the engine, was made before these emissions came into play.
And what's that cost?
You know, it's been so long since I've looked into it, Harry, I don't know. Back when I was looking into it for a newer truck because I was gonna upgrade my Kenworth, but keep an older motor, it was gonna be about 40 grand to do that. But that's a different engine. That was a big rig. We're talking, the motor that is in this dump truck is a smaller engine than what's in those big rigs. But,
what you're talking about though is replacing the engine with another engine?
Yes.
To do it. Okay. I'm
you
not-
can't do it with the current engine that's in it.
That's-
Because the federal laws require a vehicle to remain with the emissions that the engine came with from the factory.
that's-
So,
Now, I don't know, because this is kind of secondhand, and Josh isn't here, he was the one that kind of researched it for me, since he dealt with rentals and trucks and stuff. And he said that there was a lawsuit on this engine because of the problems that it had. So I don't know whether this was part of that retuning to do it or what, so.
yeah, that I
I'd
have no,
to-
I have
I'd
no
have
idea.
to
Yeah.
get with him a little bit more on it.
If there was something done by court, obviously, then that's
Yeah.
different, but.
What is it going to take to bring our truck back?
Right now, it'd take a new engine.
A new engine. So
Plus-
we're still looking at an engine. What is your estimated cost of a new engine to put our truck back in, service?
Plus the bed, right?
Yeah, the new engine is gonna cost about 20 to 25. And then the bed itself is going to have to be replated, all of that, which you're looking at probably another 15. So you're looking at about 35 on the low side, 40 on the high side.
So, if I do not know if they do dump trucks, but there is a place in Tennessee that refurbs older industrial equipment. They do big rigs, okay? They take them down to the frame, and when it leaves that place, it's a brand new truck. I don't remember the name of it, but I'll get online and see if I can't find it. But I do remember that it was in Tennessee. Might be something that we could call down, because when they're done with them, you won't recognize them. They take it off the frame, they sandblast the frame, they rebuild the whole thing to where it's like a brand new truck coming off the assembly. It'll be as good or better than it was when it was built, which is something else that we might want to look into.
How do we get it there?
So Jim, you're
We'd
looking
have
at,
to ship it.
Yeah.
you're looking
Ship
at,
it flatbed, you're looking at probably $1,000 to ship it down.
You could track it here, right? Or two.
Absolutely.
Yeah, somewhere, probably $1,000.
you're looking at shopping for a truck in the neighborhood of 30 grand.
That's what I've been looking at. 30 to 40, because that's what it's gonna take to redo ours. And and I'm looking at something that is comparable, which is, a dual axle, probably 12 to 15 yard, carry, or 15 ton.
So do you feel like that it's worthwhile to continue doing some shopping?
I think so, if you think that I'm in the right ballpark, and I can bring some other proposals to you as to things that might catch your eye, and then we can go say, okay, this one catches our eye, let's go look at it.
Anybody
Or
else?
something like that. Send somebody to look at it.
Well,
I kinda need to ask both questions here. Is our truck pre-emissions?
Yes. it is.
Okay, so if ours is pre-emissions and we can refurb it for basically, I don't know the same, I'm just saying, near the same money, I would assume that would be a better deal.
okay, next question.
My yield.
Yeah, and I don't know that you can refurb it completely for that price.
Yeah.
Because it may be considerably more to refurb it completely.
Cause I know there's some wiring issues with it, there's
Yeah.
other things that are, and one of the things that I'm looking at is, I need something DOT certified.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what year it is for DOT. You can drive around a 1930s dump truck here.
Mhm.
Okay, what they care about is whether or not it is up to factory specs.
Mhm.
That's what matters.
We have no lights on our dump truck right now.
Yeah,
We put a light bar on the front so the guys can see at night trying to get to a water break. We've got a couple of little spotlights on the back for backup lights.
Yeah.
We have.
So there is some issues that.
Actually, headlights, they don't make them more fresh.
I just thought of something.
Go ahead.
Working with schools, a lot of times, I had auto mechanics. I know there's probably some diesel training schools somewhere around Colorado. I wonder if you could contact them, if they could take a truck like ours and use that as a training thing and bring it up to snuff, because they have, and then get it certified.
But the problem with that, cause I went through one of those
Okay.
programs, is that truck could be tied up for 2 years.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
It isn't something that is
Bad
going
idea.
to be run through in 2 weeks and back in good shape for a month.
Okay, so kind of where are we here? Are we in a position then of having Jim continue to shop? Or to get some more numbers?
I think all the way around.
Yeah, I think
Okay, I can do that in the next packet. I can,
and I would.
and that way, if you guys see something you look at, I can send a guy up to go check it, or if, I might even have Jake look at it.
Okay,
Since he's willing to, if he's in that area, hey, could you go check this out?
And if I may real quick.
go ahead.
The other thing too is, cause I've been out of it for a while now, the other thing too is call the school barn, call the mechanics up there, call the mechanics. As a matter of fact, I got a couple of them that come into the shop all the time, but call the mechanics at the county and ask them, which motors do you guys have problems with, which ones do you not have problems with? The ones that were doing it the best when I was in was Detroit. The ones that were doing it the absolute worst was International, okay, which is what you're looking at. So, but I would maybe talk to them too and say, hey, which ones are you guys having good luck with? Because the last thing we wanna do is buy a truck, okay? It might look nice, shiny and pretty, but if it don't run, guys, you ain't gonna be able to do nothing with it.
So,
Yeah.
so.
Well,
Greg,
that's part of it is, you know, when I was in the construction business, when I was up in Gillette in that area, Detroit was an engine that ate the dirt. Caterpillar had the longevity,
Yeah.
you know, but
So you really, that's why I'm saying, ask some
Yeah.
questions, come back with some of that, cause
I guess, because you know a couple guys, would you be willing to do that?
I can make some phone calls for you,
Yeah,
Could you do a
absolutely.
little bit of
Come in.
research on that? On that?
One of them lives up here, as a matter of fact, but yeah, I can make some phone calls
I
for you.
appreciate that, that might help out these guys.
Yeah.
because I've even talked to some of the state guys as to trucks that they're turning over because they turn theirs over about every 7 years. And if they had any, and one of the guys that is a supervisor down like in the Levita, he says, yeah, we have a truck that we're turning over, but everybody hates to drive it because you have to engage that gear shift all the way. It isn't.
So, yeah, that's.
So he says, other than that, that truck it's like brand new. I said, well, you know, and that's what I'm looking at is if I can pick up something at an auction through state highway department or something that way.
All right, so if maybe if you could give a
Yes.
little bit of input, then, all right, let's move on.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next is the proposed budget for next year. You have the budget letter. Biggest highlight in it is,
Could we, Jim, is there any chance we could put this off for a meeting? So we actually have a chance to kind of look at your proposed?
well, the thing is we're still gonna come back the next meeting and go through it if there's anything else.
You wanna just point some things out?
I just wanna point some
Okay.
things out that are gonna be important.
All right, go ahead.
If you notice, the money, we are not having any raises in salaries, for our permanent people. We do have some raises in for our hourly because of, the increase in, what I wanna say, minimum wage. Yeah, the increase in minimum wage is still continuing to go up. So on our hourly, you'll see some increase there, but as for our regular salaries, we're keeping the same. The money that, we are over in each department, we have put it into our depreciation so that our pool of money can be used for grant writing or for backing grants, whatever. We're at that point that we're finally starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, and we do have money now to start using it as for matching grant funds. So that's one of the major concerns that we're having. If you go through and look on the water department side, you will notice that there is $3.3 million in there of grant loan proceeds. We did get ARPA funds, or we are getting ARPA funds for replacement of 2 miles of line, which we need to do in order to do our tanks. One is off of Kelly Way, which will complete the loop to bring water down from 3 mil down back around and up to cover anything that tank 1 and tank 2 as we do them. It will be supplying water to it. So that's part of it, and so that was $1.5 million for that, the 2 miles of line, and it was $1.8 million to redo our tanks, coat them inside and out. We're looking at an epoxy base which will last 25 to 30 years compared to a paint or a water base.
if I may.
Go ahead.
How long's it been since we've redone the tanks before?
We haven't.
Never have that up.
I think the last time they did them was 78.
So, the paint that we're using now, or the paint that we're getting ready to use isn't gonna last as long as the original paint?
There's no paint left on them. We should have done this years ago.
Yeah, cause you're down, they're gonna have to do a lot of, the reason the cost is so high is the sandblasting that's gonna take to get it down to, metal, because tank, 3, there is some rusting and stuff that's happening that they're gonna have to replace.
So, I realize that we got a budget that we gotta stay within,
Mhm.
but I would like to see us use the very best product, guys. Let's make this last as long as we possibly can, and make sure we get a company that does it correctly.
I sat down with an engineering group out of Springs that I've used before, which is GMS. They have a staff of engineers that deal with everything. They dealt with big projects. They have also grant writers on it, so that's what we're looking at is after this project and with the money that the Fed's coming out with, is trying to combine to get some more infrastructure and even help with our dam and our plant at the same time. Because there's another $1 billion out there that is going to be coming free. So, this is one of those companies that are very good at what they do.
I yield.
Go ahead.
Last year, and even the year before, it was stated that those tanks needed valve work. How does that factor in?
We sat down, Greg and I and the engineer, we sat down and we found the plans for it. We went out and visited each site and different areas. We were able to figure out that valve work, each tank we can individually shut down and have them isolated without doing too much. But in the same aspect of it is Red Cloud is one of our main transport lines, which it transports water to tank 4, and it also allows water to come down from tank 4. And that's one of our big 8-inch AC lines that we continually have problem because it swells and it's in a rocky area. That's one of the 1 mile areas that we are looking at replacing. Like I said, the other one is Kelly Way, which it loops from the top of Jody all the way down, and it goes into Showalter, which Showalter then has supply to go the rest of the way and loop back. So this is one of those things that we're looking at how we can loop water, keep it moving.
That's all fine. My point that I was trying to get at is that it was stated that the valves were not functional.
There are some that aren't functional.
So how are we gonna do this if we don't have functional valves?
The ones that we have tried for our tanks, they are functional. That's one of the things that we went back through. When Donnie was here, yeah, he said, oh, this valve didn't work. But we went through and checked them and they do work, so.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
So that's kind of the highlights that I had, sewer plant. We're in there, the biggest, I think that's about the biggest areas and concerns that in the budget that we had. Everything else, we zeroed out, and like I said, it zeroed out whatever we had left in it. It went into depreciation, for those areas, for grants, whatever.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, real quick.
Go ahead.
So, I know that we've all spoke with the county commissioners a few times here and there, but the last time that I spoke with one, they said that some of the money we would get before the end of the year, which obviously we are gonna get some of it before the end of the year. But I believe my understanding was is that may also get some money next year. Did you get any indications as to,
The only thing that I got when Neil and I went up and, talked to the commissioners, they had requests for $283 million, and they have $33 million to.
well, I know that, yeah.
And it all depends on other projects as they go through that picking and finding of what is necessary and what isn't.
So they're gonna prioritize, I
Yes.
figured.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they've prioritized this to us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are you-
So, Jim, what's the next step on the budget?
Next step on the budget is, we will have a hearing tonight. It was posted a month ago that if any comments from, the citizens as they look through it, it's there. We also will have another meeting to either adopt it or if there's some more changes. But we gotta remember that it has to be done by the 15th. So if you wanna have another meeting next week or something just for budget, we can do that. But we need to have it either fully in place by the 14th.
Okay.
So,
Okay, let's go ahead.
that's why I'm saying it's there, it's brought out. There wasn't really too many changes in the first budget we gave you in October. The only thing was it was deciding if the voters gave us the opportunity to keep the money that we've taken for our rec area, whether we can put it in there or not. And that was the biggest change, and also the grant that we got from ARPA funds.
Go ahead. Jim, where is the line item for the depreciation?
It is usually, if you look down, under your capital outlays, capital bond, you'll see depreciation.
Okay, which page?
It's on,
First page.
on each of your,
Oh, okay.
uh,
Gotcha.
deals, there is depreciation.
So it's the capital outlay.
Yeah, after the capital outlays, there is depreciation
Gotcha.
that is added in.
So, Mr. Chairman, before we close, I just have one comment. We've struggled all year long with maintaining and keeping quality health, and yet, although we're making increases required by law, I'm wondering how that's gonna help us maintain and keep good health. I'm suggesting that we at least look at the possibility of actually increasing the amount that we spend on employees, because, you know, we've been chasing our tail all year long because we have a staff of 1.4 people and 0.7 of them are sick on any given week, and it's just pretty hard to do. And I also had a quick question on, in what world health insurance goes down, are we paying less for people next year?
No, actually it went up, 2.5%.
Well, it said, maybe, I'm just looking at the admin then, on the front
Yeah,
page.
you're probably.
Oh, okay,
Just
okay.
the admin.
I apologize.
But, yeah, it's gone up.
So, Mr. Kraus, you're suggesting we increase the budget for salaries?
Yeah, I'm suggesting that we look at increasing the budget for salaries because we've had trouble maintaining good people. Why in the world would I work for X number of dollars an hour here when I can drive 25 miles north and work for significantly more?
So, by the way, all employees that are in presence, cover your ears.
And then that would come out of that depreciation money.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Take
It's
some out of the
wonderful that
depreciation
we
money and the
have,
salary money.
that we have all that depreciation. That's great, that's fantastic.
Which,
That's-
it ain't a lot, but it's,
Yeah,
we've
but
got to.
we also need people to make things work day in and day out. And that's all I had. That's the only thing I noticed. I think we've had you know, I know Rye Fire deals with the same things. They pay people X amount, they train them, and then they go somewhere else and make more money. Not that we can meet Pueblo, but I'm just wondering if we can get any closer.
Yeah, with our retirement package and our coverages, we are pretty much standard to Pueblo West.
Oh, are you?
Yeah,
Well, that's good.
so,
Because of the complete package.
yeah, because of the complete package. You know, the other aspect of it is those construction jobs, I've been on them, you're usually laid off for 2 or
Right.
3 months
I
a
understand.
year, and that was,
I understand that, but the person who is not wise and experienced and has gray hair doesn't always understand that. They look at the dollar amount and they go,
yeah.
I wanna go for
You know, come to me.
it. No, Harry,
Greg, did you have
yours
something?
is silver.
So, have we taken the time to break down our benefits and showed our employees?
Not totally, but I can, and, the ones that we do interview and talk to, we have broke it down there with them, and they understand how many.
They understand the value they're getting on their retirement plans and stuff like that, cause I know some of the areas aren't doing
Yeah.
as good as we are, some are doing better.
The biggest area that I have right now is people being able to meet the requirements.
So,
So
that-
is that, can you understand?
Yes.
That was very nice.
I can. So that leads into where I got to go. So, I was about to lose an employee, a couple weeks ago. Okay? An employee that I really didn't want to try to replace because I didn't think I could replace. I could, anybody's replaceable, but in the economy that we're in right now, in the market that we're in 25% inflation that we're in, and nobody wanting to work, everybody wanting to be on unemployment, it is very difficult. So I bit the bullet and raised their pay. And we have been having problems, like Mr. Kraus has said now, for a year or two, maybe even longer than that, keeping people employed and getting new people.
And the people that we're replacing, that have replaced, they know their objective, and it's that they can make whatever they want to make. If they want to go through testing to the water plants, the sewer plant, you know, every time they pass a test, they get an increase in pay. So it isn't like they are stagnant at that rate either. You know, I've had a couple of new employees say, hey, I know one of them talked to me and said, Gary said, well, if I get my rate 85 test, what I need to do, I can start taking tests to go forward. I told him, best person to talk to would be Gary, is
Yeah,
we
that's true.
get you started. And so they know that their scale can move up in a relatively quick time if they put their mind to it and start taking the tests.
I guess my concern, if I was listening to Terry, right, is I don't want us to get into a situation where the whole community's standing around staring at us to grab a shovel to dig a hole because we ain't got anybody else to do it, because I got news for you, I'm allergic to a shovel.
My shoulders are too, but it's.
So, that's all I wanted to emphasize.
No, and that's part of it too, is we gotta have some cushion in there to make them increases too as we go along.
I yield.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to address this idea of using the depreciation as a slush fund. 3 years ago, you had no depreciation. you couldn't pay for a water filter. I agree we need to pay the employees properly, but that's the one thing. You can cut many other places, there's a lot of other, fluff within this. It doesn't need to come from depreciation. That's it. Okay. Thank you.
Agreed? Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the next step is, the hearing and,
Yeah.
we'll bring it back to us.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go ahead, Jim.
Okay, you have CCAAC review, I only have one. I believe Harry, you looked at that?
Yes, I did, and Bob Smith went out with me, and we've done they did that on a garage, it's on Plymouth Road. They did that on a garage about 2 months ago. Now they're just putting a shed out in the middle of nowhere, a nice shed that's in your book. And we measured it, and it's okay. We looked at it, and Bob signed off on it, and I signed off on it.
So your recommendation is to
Is
approve
to
it?
just approve it, yeah. It's a nice looking building.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Mr. Chairman? Go ahead.
Myself and Harry looked at least a half a dozen complaints. Do we not have those?
Those,
No, because no one went out to look at them yet.
I think they're in,
But we can prioritize the new build again.
I think they're in the spreadsheet action, in the action.
No, they were looked at, they were written down. I didn't get-
But we have no members that went out and looked at them.
We don't need a member, one of us can look.
Are we the board? Are we the
Yes.
CCAC?
Now,
Yes,
stop,
we are.
both of you, stop.
I need direction. from the
Typically, we
board.
do the complaints in
They were
the
done.
action section.
They were done. The complaints were written up.
No one went to see
What I'm
them.
saying, typically, we take action on complaints in the action section of the meeting.
Where they at?
No, I did not bring them to the board because no one looked at them. We looked at them in the book. Bob and I looked at them in the room. And we put down all the covenant things they're in violation of, but we did not go out physically look at them. I looked at a couple, but I haven't, written them up. Because I'm not on the CCA committee because I usually go with one of those members, but we're down to 2 and maybe 1. We don't have any members on that committee right now.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Okay, first off, we are the committee. We've already talked about this in the past. I have offered to come in and look at stuff if need be. If I don't get a call, I know we've looked at it, I said, oh, is somebody gonna look? Oh, yeah, okay. If we don't look, it doesn't get done unless we want to prioritize a new build. I have said, you have said, Harry has said that we will look, but they're not getting looked at. If you need me to come in and do it myself, it will get done, because we are the committee, not the other two. They are assistants. They are volunteers to the committee. This committee needs to get it done. I yield.
I differ with that, because we are board members. We only came to that committee to help them because there's not enough of them. We've lost 2 already. We lost Larry Berg and we lost Rick because Rick moved to Springs. And Bob Smith is driving mail carrier sometimes, he's not around. And Randy, there's issues there right now too. So the thing is, we are board members, and if we find complaints, my concern is if we find complaints, who do they go to appeal a letter that we write? It's the board members are the first line of appeal. So how can we be the ones that issue the citation and also hear the appeal if they have a grievance against us?
Point taken. Let's move on.
Okay.
That's all I have in my study session.
I close the study session, bring the regular meeting of the Board of Corrections, College City Metropolitan District in order at 10 minutes to 7. If you join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you join me in a moment of silent reflection, please, if you so choose. Thank you. A quorum check, let the minutes show that we have a full quorum, everyone present. Public hearing. So, do we need to close this meeting and go to the
Yes.
public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. I bring the regular meeting closed and open a public hearing for the purpose of the budget review. And this is really, as I understand, more of a public input, right, because we're not, the budget is still in flux.
Yes.
And if there's any public input to the budget, we'd like to hear it at this point. Anyone have anything?
I do.
Go ahead, if you would, if you give us your name, please.
Absolutely. I'm Kathy Lesser,
Okay.
and we are having a road put into our property,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to check kind of with Jim, but with everybody on where I would find that in the
It
budget.
would be under roads.
Okay? And I looked there, but I still didn't have problems, like, figuring it out, so.
That's gonna be part of your operating, I believe, operating supplies and stuff, we had 26,000 in there that would cover part of that in that road.
Okay,
Because our gravel is free,
right.
but it's just the fuel and everything
Labor.
else to labor to get it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other public input or questions? If not, I'm gonna bring this public hearing to close and reopen the regular meeting. Now I need approval of the agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda as written.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Approval of past minutes for study session November 9, 2021, and regular meeting November 9, 2021. I see no reason they can't be approved together.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for study session and regular meeting November 9, 2021.
And I second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No bills payable. Operational report?
No.
Okay, let's get to the statement. In order for the business of the board to be conducted in the most effective and expeditious manner, it is necessary that all persons present maintain a demeanor of civility toward the board, staff, and each other. Conduct that appears threatening or aggressive will not be tolerated. Shouting, speaking out of order, or the use of offensive gestures similarly are not acceptable. Such behavior shall constitute the forfeiture of your right to remain in attendance and may, as a point of order brought to the board's attention by council or any board member, including the chairperson, result in your being asked to leave the meeting by the chairperson or, upon your refusal, being escorted out of the meeting by the proper authority. Okay, up to citizens' input.
I have Travis Nelson.
Dylan from Arizona Star Equities. I just had a question regarding, in all of my research that we've been doing, we've ran into several people mentioning the either 30-year water plan or the 40-year water plan. there any way you guys could elaborate on what exactly that is and how it applies to the Metro District?
I believe they.
I'd love to get a copy of it, is what I'm
I
looking
believe
for.
they did one in 2012 when they put in the plat and stuff. I'd have to dig it up. I've seen it, but I haven't seen it.
Can I come down tomorrow for it?
If I can find it.
I do believe we have one, in fact, I believe it's in one of these file values.
I'll see if I can locate it.
Awesome, thanks guys.
Next, Kathy.
Good evening. I was listening to the letter that was read about the growth, and it's a reasonable thought, but I think having a growth plan would be a good idea, and maybe arbitrarily, I'm thinking limit growth to X number of housing units a year, but I almost had a heart attack when the $30,000 price came up for Pueblo West, because you're pricing a lot of people out of the market for that. We just turned in, and I was hoping it was approved tonight, to put a house in Applewood, and there's no way I could afford $30,000. I'm cringing at the cost of 17. So managed growth is a really good idea, but I'd like you to consider when you do, not to price people out of the market with such a high price, to deter them with a limit of a number of houses per year.
Noted, well noted.
Thank you.
I think, I'm not so sure how, that we should or how to respond to that. We definitely are aware of the costs and situations, and of course of our own infrastructure. But yeah, very, very well noted. Anybody else?
No, that was it.
No attorney's report?
No.
Okay, can we move on to agenda items?
Yes. You have property proposal for unit 30, lots 649, 650. As discussed earlier, I know Yvonne brought up a point. This was one of those lots that I don't know where we end up getting that evaluation on it for, because every lot around it is $1,000, and then you have one that's right in the center that could be 50 or 30 or 15, and this is one of those $15,000 lots.
So,
what's that do to us?
We need to, wait.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
We need a motion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion at this time that we accept this offer with a counter that, accept the price, but with a counter that they are responsible for all costs incurred by the Metro District to put in the road.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second for discussion.
Moved and seconded, open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make an amendment.
Hang on just, hang on just a sec. Is that,
What concerns me is what Yvonne said, it has 11,000 on the books.
okay,
What's that do to us?
all right, well, let's get into it. We'll ask that in a minute here.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. You want an amendment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I amend that we counter their offer with the addition of the statements on the road. We cannot counter with the prices on the document. So we counter by adding to the document that they pay for the road.
We counter with their offer. And
we're countering their offer. Now, their offer already is $3,000.
yeah, gotcha.
So we're countering their offer and adding that they pay for the road installation, including the culvert. Because that
Any
culvert-
costs.
Any cost involved with that, yes.
I will, yes, I will accept that.
Okay, so we're into a discussion. I have a question, I guess, and Greg, is probably for you. These roads were put in, there is a road there, it's just not approved road. Is there a culvert there now?
There could be just covered in. I really don't know on that. I'd have to go down.
Any attachment to the county road, typically they required putting a culvert
Well,
in when it was in.
we have a lot of roads that have culverts in, and they're just filled in and covered up.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of wanting to.
Yeah, so,
Or they
you know,
did-
it would take some exploration and
Yeah.
or either,
go to
They
see.
need to lift the culvert.
or either they've hit it with their grader, making the ditch and closed it in themselves and covered it up.
Okay,
You know, it's one of them, yeah, there's a lot of culverts out in the middle of nowhere, but,
that be redone,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not maybe redone, if we find it,
right.
we could blow it out. Aiden can take the Vectron in and blow it out. We clean out each side and you're okay.
Okay.
But it's just a matter of looking for it.
We're requesting they would pay the cost to do that.
Yeah,
Is what you're covering.
any and all costs.
Any other discussion there?
I think again to Harry's question, Harry had the question about what it does. Yvonne, you wanna chime in onto that a little bit? If you can.
Sure. So it's going to hit our administration budget this year with a cost of $11,556, which the net total, even though we are getting in cash, it's gonna hit our, net total by 11,000. So it's gonna reduce it by 11,000. So let's say we're planning on having an overage of 20,000 at the end of the year, we would only have 9,000 on paper.
Because it's taking your capital, which, it's like your collateral.
Right. But,
So it's taking our collateral down by 11 grand.
Yes. Or by 8 grand.
I'm suggesting that, I'm concerned, I guess, that the $1,000 value on the lot, that's not that's $1,000 a win. You know, and prices have gone up. I look at after our last go around with selling all these lots, or with the offer for all these lots, or even over in the Crossroads Highway, I looked at, lots for sale online by Remax and by Keller Williams and a lot of those, and gosh, there's some of those lots out there, there's some for or listed, they're not selling necessarily, they're listed for $30,000 and $11,000. And so an unbuildable lot, I saw some unbuildable lots that were listed for $11,000. They're quite a range, they go all the way from $3,000 to $30,000 on these lots. I'm concerned still that we're not, right now it's just all across the board. I'm concerned that we're still kind of behind the curve here on what is truly the value of this. We're looking at, these are acreages, they're not just lots, these are acreages. And I'm not so sure that I'm going to drop our $4,000 price.
I mean, I thought it was a great deal until she said $11,000, and it's hard to eat that. I mean, if you put those two lots together, you're talking about 2.5 acres out there.
At
You
least.
have a septic field and you have a
Sister.
cistern. You're in heaven out there, really. That 11,000, I mean, I don't know why it's there, but it's there.
Regardless of the 11,000, those lots are quite a lot of value. On the same token, I don't want to not welcome people into Color City. But I feel like that they're worth more than that. So, go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, even though I made a motion and, amendment and seconds and stuff, it's my opinion that it's not worth it to sell these two lots. You're going to take a bite in the budget hard. We're already trying to find dollars. And on top of that, it is acreage that can be built on. So it's not like, even if you sell it for the 11,000, that's still a pretty good deal on where that's at. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
So if I may, real quick on the budget. It's all on paper. Drives me absolutely insane that we're even talking about this, because it's not actually money. I mean, it was values that were assigned by somebody none of us know who assigned them, and none of them make sense, and they just arbitrarily assigned values to lots and used them as collateral. So the fact that he's already said, our city manager's already said, that we got a half a dozen lots in the area. Most of them have got $1,000 valuation on them, and for some reason, somebody put 11,000 on this one. And it's all on paper, because it's not actual money that we've got in those lots. It's just being used as collateral towards our loans, correct?
Pretty much.
So, and I'm not quite sure how we take a hit in the budget. We do take a hit on the budget as far as what we have in collateral, but how do we take any hit as far as actual money? How are we losing any actual money? I don't believe we are losing any actual money.
No, and I
This
don't,
is Yvonne. Can I speak?
go ahead, Yvonne.
Okay, so, Craig, I know what you're saying, so I presented a question to the auditor, about our enterprise fund and this same situation. And he said, you have actual cash in the bank, so it doesn't matter in the enterprise what that number is at the bottom, because we have actual cash. But just looking at the budget on the government side, you are correct, we would get cash in, but we would have to record the expense, which I'm told is either what it costs us to get that piece of property, the costs for that property somehow are linked to it. But it just hits the budget, the net income amount, it lowers it by the net. It's not actual money that we're losing.
Yeah,
So as long as we are positive at the end of the year in the government fund, with all funds combined, we're still okay.
yeah, because it's not actual money that's coming out of our pocket,
Right.
which still drives me nuts how they come up with that
Thank you.
calculation. I yield.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I was a little offended by the letter earlier. I don't feel like the board has ever tried to make we haven't had a board retreat in Bermuda yet or anything like that, but I do think that fairness should be the rule. I think that we jump around a little bit, and I'm okay with that, because every piece of property out here is different. But I kind of share your feelings about 2.5 acres for $6,000. I don't feel that is equitable to the other people that have bought lots out here. I'm not concerned about whether the board gets $6,000 or $8,000 to put toward the budget, but I do think it needs to be equitable and in line with what other sales we've made. And I think that's lower than what we've been doing.
Mr. Chairman, I call the question.
Let's vote. Mr. Hochstetler, you're first.
I say no.
Mr. Kraus?
No.
Mr. Collins?
No.
Chairman votes no. Ms. Cook? No. Motion does not pass. Does anybody want to consider making a motion as a counter?
What
We
would?
already did count it, right?
Yeah,
Well, that's a different counter.
My question would be, what total with the package there, with the one with 1,100 and one with 11,000? What would make a gross of 12,000?
Harry, let's take that 11,000 and just discard it. What
Mr.
we need to
Chairman.
do is we need to consider the value of the property,
Yeah.
not the number on the books.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that because we made a counteroffer several weeks ago, that we would stick to that counter offer with the addition of all road costs associated with the property. I still think that is a little low, but I think we already opened our mouths and said that, and our word should be good for at least 90 days or whatever it's been. So I would move that we would stick with the price that we offered the last time, and in addition, that they would be responsible for any costs associated with the road.
I'll second that one.
Moved and second, discussion.
And that'd be 4,000 per lot plus a road.
Yes.
All discussion. Now let's vote. All right, Mr. Oxford.
I'll say yes.
Mr. Kraus?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
No.
Chair votes yes.
So from what I understand, it's 4,000 per lot
Plus road.
plus,
And then all costs associated with the road.
Okay. Old business.
okay, old business, we're still working with, internet and all of that. The one thing that we did have, we left off last week was signs for Greenbelt. I asked you guys, if there was any particularly, how do we wanna word it? Do you wanna have one sign that says just no unauthorized vehicles? Do you give multiple signs of no camping, no dumping, no shooting of firearms in areas? Or do we want a sign that has all of that on it? You know, that's one of the things that I wanted to bring back to the board as to, I know around the lake and in some of our green belts, people are just letting their dogs run and chase the wildlife, whatever. Is that something we wanna say that we need a leash law going on? That animals need to be on a leash. I know there's been some concerns about being around the lake and dogs not on a leash.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I don't think there are needs for signs. We have rules and regulations that govern it, available to everyone. One of the reasons I was able to beat Colorado City years ago in 2007 is green belts are almost impossible to measure and mark, because they go every direction. You can't even go between lots. It's a nightmare looking at the borders of green belts. I would suggest you stick with your rules and regulations. Dogs off leash are Pueblo County. That's not us. Anybody can pick up the phone, including the parks director. Within our boundaries, the parks director knows that our rules say own leash, so that's perfectly fine there. As for hunting and shooting, we all know there are rules there. Our rules are in the book. If you would like to add something to the book, I would say go for it.
So, go ahead.
I still think we need some signs, because what I've been hearing from some neighbors is they call the police and they don't find the person, or they trespass and they don't have any way of stopping them because there's no signage up that says you're trespassing. I think we need a few, I don't want to say a whole bunch of things, but we need something because people are abusing it. I pass.
If I may.
Go ahead.
So, the problem is that you can't trespass them because the green belts are open to all of us, okay? That's what the covenants say. I mean, we all have the right to go on the green belt, so you can't trespass anybody. I mean, if we were to put some signs up, the only thing I would recommend maybe is putting some signs up, on the green belts, periodically here and there, Colorado City green belt, please follow rules per whatever the section is that we have, something like that. I mean, because we can't trespass them. That's probably the reason why the sheriff never has trespassed them, because you can't trespass them for being on the green belt. We all own the green belt.
I think it's motorized vehicles on the green belt, I think, is a big issue.
So what problem are we trying to correct here?
People driving through mud holes
That's
and
it.
stuff.
So it's basically it's ATVs.
Yes.
So
Our motorbikes.
motorbikes.
Motorbikes that go through, you know.
Motorbikes and ATVs. So is it possible, would it be considerable to simply get no unauthorized motor vehicles signs and put them on the tracks where people have obviously been?
But the tracks aren't ours, most of it. What area are you talking about? Because if you're talking about over by my house, most of that's private property.
No, I'm talking about when you go in.
Say where the second dam would be.
Second
is
dam,
one.
and Lago Vista, you go into Lago Vista, they're going right behind the house we just approved for his little, their shed, although we didn't yet. But right there, right off of Lago Vista, they go back in there, but they go just before you get through the two walls of Lago Vista, they go down and they go through that mud hole. And now it's dry, but they go through there and they tear that up and they really disturb, they're worse than dogs for wildlife.
Are they, is that a greenbelt area or is that private property?
That's the city's lake area right now, but it's not a lake yet.
Also,
But that's the money, that's the place that we.
also the old golf course.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yeah,
it
also
doesn't belong to
don't-
the
The
city.
West Nine and,
No.
that both so we have trouble with the ATVs on the old Nine, the old golf course, and over there in that green belt that goes down in the Royal, the Scottish Royal.
So my question to everybody is, do we come down with an iron fist on the ATVers and the motorcyclists, okay? Or do we offer them an alternative? Because half this community, including myself, just for disclosure, own ATVs, okay? Probably over half, okay? Yes, please go right ahead. Okay, so what type of alternative do we give them? Because I, for one, would much rather see the kids out there doing something that's not destroying my house, not knocking a window out, not shooting at my dog with a BB gun. I mean, you gotta give kids something to do, and in my opinion anyway, coming down on them saying, no, you can't do this, and we don't give them an alternative is wrong. Okay?
And east of our place, if you go east of our house there, it comes off of Fort Crockett, that area, they're right down through, and that's all private property through there. But do all those people that have private property know people are riding all through there? I mean, I don't know.
Most of those people probably don't even live here in the state.
No, they
so-
don't, they're not, but I mean, that's an issue there too. I mean,
I got an input from the audience. Greg?
Where Harry's talking, there is, it's an arroyo, it's Scroggs Arroyo. And that's been ran for, I don't know, since I've been around. Hell, when I was a kid, I used to run it. But we put up signs, probably back, Bob, you might help me, 10, 11.
2007, I remember.
Or 7. We put up
I
signs,
whipped them.
and this is what they did, they shut the hell out of them. And ran them over and stole it. So, yeah, I mean, isn't that right, Bob?
Yep.
I mean, we tried, but, and you can't, we are so spread out. Yes, there might be a trail going down Scroggs, but when you go all the way down Scroggs, there's trails going everywhere. And it's been that way for, like Bob says, I don't know. But as far as
Signs aren't
wasting, signage ain't gonna work.
they're not cheap.
It didn't.
I don't know why I thought of this now, but what about motorized wheelchairs, Harry?
Yeah, but I mean, Mr. Cook, he knows, we tried that, we did everything we could do, and that was just kind of a waste of time and money. And, you know, yeah, at one time, I think I wanted to bear trap a couple of places, and then I found out that I'd get thrown in jail. Bear trapping, so. But, I mean, I don't see no signs that you're just, it ain't gonna happen.
Okay, that, we can beat that up that night.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's move on from that into different, continue old business. Old business, any more?
Any, oh, yeah. I don't have
Nothing else.
All right, let's move to
any new business. Ms. Bob has something. Do you have anything on your business?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to, this is as appropriate a time as any, I'd just like to, I know Greg, I think probably all of us have talked to county commissioners here and there and every year, but I'd really like to thank Jim for following that through to the end, and I mean, $3.3 million will help the water system a lot, and yeah, I think Jim told me on the phone this morning he actually applied for $22 million, and I wish he'd have got that. And maybe he could step it up next year, but I think he, you know, we're quick to tell him when we don't think he's doing something right. And my opinion is you did a great job following that through, and thank you.
Okay.
Okay, executive session, I don't have anything on that. We have, so you're on CCA,
Garage at 5080 Corner Verde Boulevard.
Yep, we just have the one.
So I guess I make a motion at this time that we approve the garage on 5080 Corner Verde Boulevard.
I'll second it.
Moved and second, discussion. Let's vote. Mr. Cook, how do you vote?
no,
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Kraus?
Yes.
Ms. Hochstadler?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, passed.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I do share Mr. Cook's concern about action on the complaints as well. I mean, I don't remember how many letters we sent out the first wave, and we sent a few the second wave, and it's kind of disappeared. And I understand Harry's point that the committee has dwindled some. And and I agree with Bob that ultimately we are responsible. I don't care how big a committee you have, we're ultimately responsible. But, and Bob, I just thought of this while you were talking tonight, so toss a paper airplane at me if you want to or something. But Bob has offered to help several times. I was wondering if that could be some kind of minimal commitment at some point, because I know he has felt that that's neglected, and I agree with you. And I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but I certainly wanted to ask him his feelings on it and see what the rest of the board thinks. Because Bob probably knows the covenants better than any of us, or probably all of us put together.
Well said, I think that's right. Now, I have to apologize, I've been gone for, I don't know, last 6 months or so.
Well, it's tough in Florida this time, yeah.
But I'm back here, and so Bob and I worked on them, and Bob and Harry have worked on them. We've been here with, and I think you're right, I think it is the commitment of, we are the architectural advisory, or we are not the advisory committee, we are the architectural committee. So we need to take this up, and I agree, I don't think we've used Bob well enough. I am back, I guess, from my extracurricular activities, and I will be here this week to work on them. I think Bob has offered help, and I would appreciate that. I agree with both of you that they have been ignored, we gotta get it done. And we just gotta get after it.
Is it something that, as administration, we can get you a new laptop that would help you, assist you more?
This old laptop that I put in there is too old. I think that probably is too old to where it's going to hinder us to operate with.
So if it's something in that line, we can look at.
Should we purchase one
Purchase a laptop.
from the Architectural Advisory Committee?
Either through the committee or through administration.
Do we have money to do it?
Yeah, there's money in architectural committee.
May I speak?
Please do.
You know, there is one other issue that hasn't been brought up, when it comes to me working with Harry or me working with Neil. You two don't have time to come down, I understand that. But you are correct that we are the committee. Now, with that said, we have to have a working computer with an internet connection, not just a computer there. One of the things that me and Harry weren't able to do is go on to the GIS and print out the GIS sheet to put in the file. Because that, you have to identify on the GIS the property. So that's gotta be done. The biggest problem that I've had is not with working with either one, it's I can't work with both. So we need more than just the Thursday. The Thursday's fine for the other guys to come in and look at stuff. But we need to be able to call, hey, Harry, can you meet me down there? Or Harry calls Bob, Bob, can you meet me down there? Because I can't be here with Harry and Neil, because then we've created a meeting because we are
Right.
board members.
Right.
Even though we're very careful about what we do. So we have to kind of work with each other. If Neil is gonna come work with Harry, then Bob don't show up type thing. As to here's my biggest problem with the house and the other covenants. If you read the covenants, covenant number 1 is what gives you the authority to have the house. So we're at number 1, all of them count. When me and Harry go through them, and we find a shed, I think we were doing a shed or a fence, we couldn't do it because of number 1. They're all tied together. But the biggest problem right now, and now that I have some serious medical issues, I can't be as quick as I was, but I am still willing to come out and go out, even if I've got to use my cane, to view some of this stuff. But a lot of what I do is at the computer in that room, to pull up the GIS, me and Harry sat 2 weeks ago, I think it was, and we went through, and Harry had the book, and I had the document, and number so-and-so, and we would go down the covenant list, okay, violation to 1, 4, and 6.
And I'd add to it, he said, no, it's not in the covenant.
Right, so we
I made a comment,
we
he
looked
said,
over them.
Yeah, it's not in the covenant, it doesn't say that, it's not specific enough.
Right.
But I think the computer would really help.
So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Computer.
So-
So I guess, Jim, we need a computer.
So,
And internet.
Yes,
with the
ma'am.
internet, which you've got internet here.
Okay.
So,
Well, I
We
have
got
a
it.
thought, so earlier it came up, if you guys are writing the complaint, then who does the homeowner go to if they have a concern and they wanna debate the issue? Appeal it. So, my thought,
basically what would happen is, of course, as a when we're acting as a committee member, we are a minority. So if an appeal is made to the board, it would be the majority of the board, not just that specific board member.
well, I'm thinking maybe the board member who goes out and writes the complaint, maybe shouldn't sit on the appeals board.
Correct. Yes, sir.
I think that'd be a due process violation.
Yes. That's correct. So,
I would have no problem putting that into the rules.
So-
and that's, I agree.
With
Well,
that,
really, this can't be that difficult. We've gotta be able to get this done. It's
I think
not,
computer's the
it's not
key.
rocket
Yeah.
science. So,
So-
what we need to start with is computer.
so,
Let's get
so
on
with
the
that,
road
would
with
you
that.
rather have a laptop or would you rather have a computer with two screens so that you can
One screen.
check?
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
I just wanna make sure, because you won't believe
We
what
will
we
need-
do with two
We
screens,
will need printer as well.
which we can hook it into our printer.
Yeah, okay, if you can we,
I'll get with Yvonne and see where we can go with that,
yeah, okay.
okay?
Anything else?
I think if we can come up with some way to just notify one of the three of us as the other person, so that there are two looking at it. Just coming in by yourself, it does, we've run into this already, that some of the stuff has been logged and looked at, and some of it hasn't, so the other person doesn't know, so we're duplicating work.
We need to get it caught up to the log,
And if I may,
yes,
I would suggest a laptop just in case for reportability.
right. I think
So
so.
where are we gonna port it to? Where are we gonna take it?
One of you might wanna take it to the house to do something.
No, that's our problem now. Our problem now is the file is not here.
Just investigate it and we'll just.
But a laptop still looks fine. I mean,
Yes,
laptop
that
is
still
fine.
works.
Okay, that'll be fine. All right, anything else?
That's it?
Can I get a motion?
I
to
make a
check the
motion.
logs?
I think this is the shortest meeting we've ever had.
I make a motion to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
In second, we're adjourned.